You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine. Ain't Nothing But Your Hound Dog, a classic Elvis song, and a pretty easy one to learn. Now, if anybody knows what it means, you ain't caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine, let me know in the comments. I would love to know. And I'm sure it has some meaning. I'm just out of it. Anyway, we're going to play this song with no capo in the key of G. Now, if it's too low for your voice or you want to change it, put a capo on. G's a good key for this song because it's good for the guitar, but it might not be the best for your voice. We're going to use a G chord, a C chord, and a D7 chord. If you're already familiar with these chords, you're welcome to just skip on over to one of the other sections. After I do the chords, I'm going to go into a walkthrough, and this I find is a good practice in general. That means I'm going to kind of go through the lyrics of the first verse and chorus or so, and kind of map out where the chords fit with the words. This is something I like to do when I'm learning a song, but if you find this super easy, you're welcome to skip on to the next section. It's going to be strumming. I'm going to show you two versions of the strum. The first strum is the basic motion. It's down, down, up, down, up, down, up. So if I play it that way, it will be correct, but you'll notice the song doesn't have the life when I play it like in the intro. I am doing that basic motion, but I'm also choosing where to hit the strings along the way, which adds a kind of a ebb and flow to the strum. And I'll show you more of that in the strumming section. And then finally, I'll do a playthrough of the entire song so you get a chance to practice everything you've learned. Let's head over to the chords. Let's start out with the G chord. I'm using a 3-finger G, and I'm using what I call the pinky version because I've got my pinky on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. My 3rd finger is on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, and then the 2nd finger is covering the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Now, this chord is a nice switch to the C, and that's why I'm using the pinky G. I use many different forms of G. My 4-finger is probably the most used, but I'll use a 3-finger this way and a 3-finger this way. Use any one you want to. There's not a big difference. But if you do know them all, there's an advantage to using this G because it's a nice, easy switch over to the C chord. Notice if I use this G, it's quite a bit of movement. So those are kinds of things that make you a little more sophisticated player as you progress. The next chord is a C chord. I call it a folk-style C chord. 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, skip a string on the 4th string 2nd fret, 2nd finger, and 3rd finger goes there on the 3rd fret 5th string. Now, don't worry if you hit that 6th string, but the root is the 5th string, so I generally aim for that. And finally, the D7. We often use a regular folk-style D chord. In this case, the D7 is very similar, but I'm going to put the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and then these 2 fingers straddle it, the 2nd and 3rd fingers on the 2nd fret. That's the 3rd string and the 1st string. D7. That bass note's right here on the 4th string, by the way. Don't worry if you hit the 5th string, it's still a part of the chord. Try not to hit the 6th string, no big trauma. So if these chords are new to you, I encourage you to kind of just practice going from one to the other, and before you try it with the song, kind of get at least somewhat comfortable with moving from one chord to the other. One thing to watch for is moving from the G to the D7, you're going to have to change all the fingers around, pretty much no matter what G you make. So that's a good one to practice before you start playing the song. If you're ready, head over to the practice walkthrough with me next. Okay, this is where we walk through the basic song. We're just going to strum straight down on each chord. Make sure you get your guitar out. This is a participation section. And believe me, it's going to be pretty easy. And even if you're still fumbling with the chords, you'll still find this useful. Let me talk about the structure of the song just right quick so you know where we're headed. It's a pretty simple structure. We've got first what I'll call the chorus. That could be debated whether that's the best term for it, but let's go with that. That's the part where it says, ain't nothing but a hound dog, okay? And then comes the verse, which is the same chords, pretty much same melody, slightly different words, though it ends the same as the chorus. Not a lot to the song. Then we got the chorus again, and then you got the guitar solo. On the play along, I'll kind of just hold the place for the guitar solo with chords and make a melody with my mouth. So that's the idea. Then you've got another verse, that same verse again. Interesting, huh? It's not chorus, verse, chorus, verse. It's verse and then ends with the chorus again. So with that, let's just go through the first chorus and then the verse. That covers the whole song, huh? Let's start with a G chord. On the play along, what I'm going to do is just give you a rhythm to start. And then stop, because the song starts singing with no chord in the background. Ain't nothing but a, and then comes in the chord, hound dog right there. So we're just going to do one strum down for that. Ain't nothing but a G, strum with me. Hound dog, crying all the time. Ain't nothing but a C. Hound dog, crying all the back to G. Then the next change is on the D7. It's on the word never. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit. So you to see ain't no friend of mine. And on mine, it goes back to G. Let's do that one more time. I'm gonna play a chord for each measure this time. So I'm gonna do a couple of G's because there's actually a few measures there. So here we go. You ain't nothing but a G, hound dog, crying all, this is another measure, G. You ain't nothing but a C, going back to G all the time. Well, you ain't never D7 caught a rabbit, so you to see ain't no friend, another measure, G. And then one more measure. And then it goes to the verse, which is the same as chorus in terms of chords. Let's do that. We'll go on to the verse from there. So here's the verse. Well, they said you was G, high class. Play it with me. Well, that was us again, a lie. Now we're going to C. Well, they said you was C, high class. Back to G. Well, that was just a lie. This time's at D7. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit. So you see, no friend of back to G. And we'll do that one more time, huh? Now that you kind of got the hang of it. Same pattern, different words. Well, they said you was G, high class. Well, that was just a lie, G. To C this time. They said you was C, high class. Well, that was back to G. Well, you ain't never D7 caught a rabbit. So you ain't seen no friend of G. Okay, so that's really the whole song. Then it goes back to the chorus from there. Then the guitar solo, the chords for the guitar solo are exactly the same as the verse and the chorus, all the same. So nothing new. Let's go with that. Feel free to kind of go over this a few times if you want. And I'm going to go on to the strum. So the basic structure of this strum is down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's 4 beats. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Let's do that. And I want to remind you to keep a kind of a loose grip on your pick. And you want to strum along the strings. As you're going down, your pick goes up slightly. And as you're coming up, your pick angles down. So it's brushing, not... It's a good song to practice this on. Let's just do the basic strum now. We're going to do that pattern. Ready? With me. Go. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's the first thing you do is you get the motion. Then I'll show you the subtleties. This is number 1. Go. Down, down, up, down, up, down. 2 in a row now. Down, down, up, down, up. Down, up. Let's go to the C chord. Down, down, up, down, up. And back to G. Go. Down, down, up. You're doing good. Come on. D7 this time. Let's do C again from here. We're trying to get all the changes in there. And G. We'll do 2 G's here. Last one. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so if you're new to that, you want to go through these chords and just do the strum. And then practice changing to the next chord and keeping that strum going without stopping. right? You could do any order, but eventually you want to try to do the order that's in the song to kind of ease your way into when you're going to add the words or to play with the play-along track. Now, for those of you who are ready, we're going to add a little nuance to that strum. So listen to what I just did. That's the basic strum. I tried not to be too harsh about it, but that's the rhythm. Now I'll show you an improved strum. Can you tell what makes it sound different? It does sound better, doesn't it? It has a little kind of motion to it, a little roll to it. What I'm doing is I'm hitting different parts of the strings. So don't worry if you don't get this right off the bat. This is something that you get good at after playing for quite a while. And of course, if this comes easy, just go on to the play-along section if you got this, right? But if not, this is a great chance to work on this. And again, not to just learn it and put it in your pocket and you got it, to work on it, kind of improve your strumming overall. What I'm doing is I'm hitting bass, then I go down, up, down, up, down, up. And the exact order that I do it in is not that important. The idea is by alternating when I'm hitting low and high, it creates a motion. And it doesn't have to be an exact order. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'll deliberately change it up. If you heard me play this whole song and you listen carefully to my strumming, I'm not doing exactly the same every time. No artist does. And it's the variety that actually creates a little interest in the song. You want to get the basic pattern and then, vary it up a little bit. So for practice purposes, we're going to go hit the low to start for that down. Instead of just straight down all the strings, hit the low side. You could say I'm hitting the bass note, but it doesn't matter if you hit 2 or 3 bass notes. We'll say the low side. That's more accurate than I'm not doing bass drum, right? I'm hitting a couple of bass strings. It doesn't matter 2 or 3 or even if you hit 1. So bass to start with, and then down. And I'm kind of deliberately missing hitting the bass note. I'm not going like that. I'm hitting the middle to upper. And then on the way up, I hit from the upper side, but I pull out a little before I actually get to the bass note. So I'm not going like that. So this much, half of the strum. Boom, da, da. It's a sound. Boom, da, da. So if you want to just do that, that would be a big move forward in your strumming. Dum, da, da, and the second half of the strum is I'm doing something like this. I'm going back to the bass on the third beat, down, up, and then the high on the last 2. There's 4 and. So like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So we'll say low, high, high, low, high, high, high. And it's a little different, the sound when I come up the strings and when I go down, even if it's high. So this is different than this. Try it with me. I'll count it out as low, high, high, low, high, high, high to kind of get you aimed at the right direction. And again, don't worry if you don't get this perfect now. Ready, go. Low, high, high, low, high, high, high. Try it again. Ready, go. Low, high, high, low, high, high, high. One more time. I'm going to count the numbers just so you have a sense of where it all fits. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. One more time. I'll do the low again. Low, high, high, low, high, high, high. Okay. This is more of a strumming lesson than you probably realize right now, because this is the kind of thing that'll turn your strumming from a kind of a boring thing over time with practice to sounding like a pro with that smooth rolling sound. And of course, this is a good one to practice it with, but you can apply it in lots of different ways, the same idea. With that, I'm going on to the play along section. Don't worry if this strum is new to you. Start with the play along section with just the basic strum that you can muster up, and you refine it as you go along. You start adding a little pizzazz to it. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine. Well, they said you was high class. Well, that was just a lie. Yeah, they said you was high class. Well, that was just a lie. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine. Well, they said you was high class. Well, that was just a lie. Yeah, they said you was high class. Well, that was just a lie. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine. Yeehaw! Oh, Shazam! If you're here, you did good. You're a finisher. You got to the end of the lesson. That's it for this one. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, and even better, leave me some kind of comment. I'd love to hear from you. Hey, if you're not making the progress on your guitar playing that you'd like to make, I really can help. Click the link in the description or visit my website directly at realguitarsuccess.com. You'll be amazed at the progress you really could be making, and you'll be surprised how much fun learning guitar can be. Bye for now.